Hello and good day. Oh, hello and good day. I had to repeat myself because of the recording, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, this is number 15. Number 15 is all about Moon Cowboy. Now, we just got done talking about Monsters Attack, the card game. If you remember, it's kind of like a blend of War and Uno and Rook. Kind of a blend of all of those games together with a pecking order of trump and who trumps and taking the trick or capturing the monsters, as it were. That's a fabulous game. I can't wait to make a prototype of that. I need to work with a couple of artists, and I need to, and I think I know a couple of artists that might be willing to work with me. I don't know. We'll see. But I definitely want to work on that. So what I'm talking about now, number 15, is Moon Cowboy. Now, I love Moon Cowboy. It's right up there. It's in the same universe as, let's see, Blood Moon Freedom. The same universe as Citizen Jane, Harry and his zombie friend, Journey's End, and when we go down to the bottom of the list, The Weary Way, Wolfman of Mars is what I have. I'm going to change it to Man Wolf of Mars. The Righteous, and Return to Skull Island. Those are all in the same universe. I mean, I basically have created an entire universe that could become comics, games, everything. And that's basically, I need to be teaming up with somebody like Radical Comics or Platinum Studios, maybe even Archie, to build this world that I have. So Moon Cowboy is a big part of that. And of course, like Wolfman of Mars and like Citizen Jane, it takes place in the near future, always in the near future, until these science fiction things actually come true, which they will at some point. And it may be true right now. Technically, it could very well all be happening right now, but we just have not been told it's happening. As far as people on Mars and people on the moon and moon colonies and things like that, that could all be happening. We just have no way to prove it, that it was or was not. So there you go. We just have to take NASA's word on these things. And, of course, they're a straight-up organization, right? Sure. Okay, Moon Cowboy. The tagline: a small-town sheriff travels to the moon to be close to his estranged son, only to find an unpredictable nightmare. Ooh, that sounds exciting, right? Well, the future happened. Middle-aged small-town sheriff Buster Naldry was still trying to figure out his phone. He liked living in nowhere America. He liked dealing with farmers, truck stop employees, and the major. I'm not quite sure what that means. And the major. He liked a small grocery store and one gas station. He kept order. He was a sheriff, okay. There was little to do in this small country county with Buster and Buster liked it that way. It was simple, not complicated. If anybody in Armstrong County knew anything, they knew that Sheriff Naldry hated complicated. What little crime there was in Armstrong, it was easily kept quiet. Maybe a little drug abuse, a little drunk driving here or there, enough to keep him busy, not just not complicated. After 2 years of a very awkward marriage to a complicated woman and one child later, Buster thrived on the simple life. He felt as though he had learned his lesson. His son was a teenager by this time and reached out to his father. He wanted his father to relocate and move to the same place him and his mother lived. Small problem, it was the moon. The moon had been colonized for over 40 years, but the now abandoned NASA had kept it secret for the first 20. Now that commercialization had come into the scene, things moved even faster. Tourism was skyrocketing per se, and scientific discovery was king. There were critical health experiments being done on a place where there were no laws and morality was consumed by scientific intellectualism. Questionable research practices didn't apply because it wasn't Earth. The only law there was company policy. There was also the commercial Mars space relay port. There was a commercial Mars space relay port. In other words, you went from the Earth to the Moon, and then from the Moon you would get into a different spaceship that would travel to Mars, and there was a running line, kind of like a bus line or a train line, going back and forth to Mars. There was a land flight. Who owned what? There was a land fight on who owned what on the Moon. It was first come, first serve, and many moguls wanted to retire in space and not Earth. After the first commercial rush of rockets and space flights to the Moon, technology soared and communications radically improved through lunar laser technology. Someone didn't need 200 satellites to keep the cell phone going when they just bounced light around as if it were a toy. What was left of any government property which wasn't bought up, still operated as if it was still under the authority on the Moon. There's a Moon Authority type deal, and it's commercially made. When Buster Naldry wanted to get a job on the Moon, his wife suggested security for what was left on the NASA Utilities property. He volunteered for the job, perhaps one of the most dangerous of all jobs mankind has known, Moon Patrol. Cutting to the chase, Buster travels to the surface of the Moon to visit his wife and son. He keeps running into his son on all the different commercial sites he patrols between. However, his son continues to forget that they had previously met. This concerns him greatly. His ex-wife works for a health and research lab company there on the Moon, and that is where she and her son are stationed. After some convincing, she talks to the CEO of the company to let him run security. He is just concerned about his son's mind going blank over and over. He discovers that each time he runs into his son, he is really meeting a clone of his son. He recalls his actions and counts 15 different clones, none of which remember reaching out to him. He continues to investigate and discover that the clones are organized secretly between themselves because they notice that every once in a while one will go missing and a new one will show up. Sometimes many will show up. The clones found a way to mark each other with a microscope tattoo in order not to confuse each other with one another. Buster's concern is for his original son. He can't find him and just assumes that it was his original son that reached out to him. While assuming the responsibilities of a security guard, he searches every inch of the Moon. He discovers that there are actually over 400 clones, and they all have the mark, and they all originally thought they were all the original son. He hopes that the original didn't get convinced that he too was a clone. A cologne? No, clone. Clone. Buster has a strong paternal feeling for all of these young men. He cares for them and starts getting his heart confused. Every time he runs into his son, they all have a tattoo on them. Eventually, he discovers that he, in all his excellent health, ridiculous good looks, vast intelligence, and strong survival DNA, was specifically chosen by his wife for the purpose of having their son, and that the clones of his son, body parts, and organs were being farmed by the company and smuggled back to Earth for a premium amount of money. Buster discovers that there have been thousands of clones who have been born and sliced apart over the past 10 years. His wife says, "You were a tool, Buster. Just like you are now, you were then too." Buster, after his discovery, has to make it back to North America Lunar Station in order to tell somebody. He knows that he will have to permanently not work for the company anymore, and as soon as his ex-wife discovers that he's going to leak that information, she sends out the whole security team after him. There's a surface of the Moon chase and shootout. Buster, earlier only being allowed to bring one item from Earth, brought his good luck charm. A 2015 Henry lever-action repeating .22 rifle with the Cowboy lever. He brought ammo just for good luck. One of the clones surprises him by modifying it to have its trigger airtight and just enough oxygen to fire it on the surface of the Moon just for fun. Better yet, he modified the ammunition with a special casing that permits the firing of the pin and so forth. As it turns out, on his way to leave, it is the only weapon he was able to secure. The rest of the security guards have high-powered laser guns. He has a weapon whose bullets slow down in the dead of space on the surface of the Moon. This plays out in an action scene where he shoots the gun, struggles with the guard, and then places him in front of the bullet. He then finds out that his original son was at the NALS, North American Lunar Station, this whole time waiting for him to find him. As the movie draws to an end, Buster and his son, on their way to escape the moon, find an ancient structure on the moon and run into it, trying to get away. They lead the other security personnel down a hatch and tunnel, only to find that the moon is hollow, filled with ancient megacity built thousands of years earlier by Earthlings brought here by aliens. Then they find out that the moon is actually a monitoring station for the safety of mankind, whose population has just reduced, run out of supplies for some unknown reason, and they all died off. The end. Now the plot thickens for the second Moon Cowboy movie. It is a chase through the megacity on the inside of the moon. Buster finds a power station and turns the moon on. The inside of the moon restores life support just in time to save Buster and his son from dying of suffocation. But this also saves the not-so-long-forgotten security personnel chasing them. One by one, Buster uses his wit and experience to pick off the security guards, but as a twist, his ex-wife starts sending clones in after them as security personnel to capture or kill them both. Buster and his son still have to figure out how to get back to Earth. And then I have a little dialogue, a little this and that, a little back and forth. No longer concerned about the cloning as much as they are just surviving the chase, they find alien craft that could do the job. They have no idea how to operate the vehicle, but the son, who is genetically superior to most, including the dumbed-down clones, connects his tech to the ship and they launch back to Earth. They don't know exactly where to go on Earth because they will basically need to hide. Buster has a friend with 1,000 acres in Texas, and they will try to land there. The end. So that's second Moon Cowboy right there. That's the Moon Cowboy story, and I actually have a third Moon Cowboy story, which I'm not going to get into right now. So it's kind of a trilogy, and I have that listed from the bottom. My final words, my notes. It says just the beginning. So there you go, Moon Cowboy. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the story rocks. I think there is bad romance going on. I think there's paternal love, father and son love, a confused and complicated relational story with all the clones as his son, finding his actual son, and still not knowing if his actual son is a clone or not. He doesn't have a tattoo. So he was never tattooed by the other clones because he was hiding out in the station, abandoned lunar station, the North American lunar station. And so it's been abandoned, and so he was there, and he'd been hiding there for quite some time. And that's where he reached out to his father. So it all kind of comes back, and I think it's quite enjoyable. In my mind, at least, it's enjoyable. I don't know if that very droll reading of Moon Cowboy was exciting or not, but I thought the story was well done. So that's Moon Cowboy. Next, I'm going to talk about the network TV. What is it? The network TV product placement and prizes theater. Let's repeat that. The network TV product placement and prizes theater. So we will talk about that in number 16. So, okay. Thank you.